to our rural Americans have added padding around their legs. So at some point in time, we'll try, I know, right? At some point in time,
All right,
we'll
folks,
try to put it into
we'll get started here.
We'll
Call the meeting to order. Let's start off with a roll call.
Certainly. Delaware County, Joseph Cazzola.
Present.
Ryan Hanel.
Present.
Patrice Delameter.
Here.
Margaret Wilson. David Simmons.
Present.
Thank you, sir. David is an alternate and will not be voting today since there's a full complement from Delaware County. Fulton County, Margaret Houghton. Excused working. Country Suite.
Here.
John Farquhar.
Here.
Michael Tracy.
Here.
Mark Souza, alternate.
Here.
Mark will be voting today since there is not a full complement of regular members from Fulton County. Hamilton County, Joyce Malidi is excused. Philip Malidi, present. Ken Kurt.
Here.
Avis Warner.
Here.
Gary Wicks.
Here.
Ken Kurt is an alternate and will be voting today in the excused absence of Joyce Malidi. Montgomery County, Tom Pasquarelli.
Here.
Michael Swartz.
Here.
Tricia Sanders is excused. Tony Agresta.
Here.
Otsego County, Sid Chase.
Here.
Elizabeth McGowan is excused. Nick Brent is excused. He's an alternate. Tim Foster.
Here.
Rich Kirschman is excused. Schoharie County, Ed Brandt.
Here.
Bill Beavers.
Here.
All right. Bill, there's a technicality about your voting ability
Yeah,
today.
I am not a voting member anymore.
All right. Ed Hillenbrand.
Here.
Dr. Luz.
Here.
Ben Lausch.
Here.
Mark Zeke, advisory, is excused. Lou Jones.
Yes.
Lou Jones, advisory, is present. Dr. Markowitz.
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
All right. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Sid and recuse myself as chair for this particular meeting. Okay.
Our next function is to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. You've all received them. Are there any questions concerning those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented. Okay.
I'll second.
Second? Okay.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
Davis. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Anybody abstain? Okay. Motion is carried.
Introduction of guests.
Introduction of guests.
All right, we have some nice guests who are always welcome. We have Mary Raymond and Joe Farrell from the that place down in Albany. The name escapes me. Department of. There you go. That's close enough. All right. And Steve Desura is here. Steve. Oh, nice to meet you, Steve.
You as well.
Steve Desura from the Department of Health, Deputy Director of the Department of Health EMS Bureau. We have Howard Huth here. We have Don Bramer from the Rural Grove Fire Department. We have Steve Gamula from Remo. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing that, am I not?
Close enough.
Close enough? That's what I say about my own words, Dave. Thank you.
My family.
We have Jim McCready from the, from the Johnstown Fire Department. We have Donna Jones, who's a guest of Lou. And we have Chuck and Sam Caruso from JVAC. And did I leave? Oh, we have Vic Jones from the Otsego County EMS office. Did I leave anybody out? If I did so, it was, I'm sorry.
Dustin Miller from Sydney.
Dustin Miller from Sydney. I'm sorry, Dustin. Excuse us, please. Where is he? Oh, Steve. Steve Santa Maria, Director of the Office of Emergency Management from Fulton County. Welcome. And Jill Dunham, who just whispered her name. To me, as if I did not know it. I'm sorry.
It's like the third month in a row, but I'll let it go.
Welcome one and all to our guests.
Anybody else? That's it? Okay. Correspondence.
Correspondence is listed. Everybody, copies are available if you did not get a copy.
Anybody have any questions about the correspondence? If not, let's go to Chairman's report.
Okay.
I have no report.
Let's go to the Secretary's report.
Secretary's report. Okay, on March the 6th, we participated in the monthly Program Agency Directors Conference Call with the Department of Health. Some of the salient points discussed. Number one, Mike Taylor is back with the EMS Bureau, working with Lynn Ferrugia and Steve DeZura. Lynn Ferrugia advised that all vouchers submitted for the January-February time period would be processed by March the 15th. And as a matter of fact, we received payment on March 18th, which is extremely timely and appreciated, very appreciated. There was considerable discussion on the closing of ambulance service of Fulton County on February 8th and on the announced closing of JVAC on March 16th. Dan Clayton asked all directors to advise DOH if they were aware of any other imminent closings in their area. And Dan and I and others in the Bureau have had a number of discussions on that topic. Gene Taylor noted that core sponsor renewals have been mailed to the affected sponsors. Also, electronic scheduling for exams will be in place by April the 1st. Peter Brody of the Department of Health asked for a report on agencies not regularly submitting paper PCRs so he can follow up with them. And we will continue to do so with Peter. Ryan Greenberg of DOH, the EMS Bureau Director, noted that the PECC coordinator acquisition is ongoing. It was noted that changes to the CME program will be published in May. Work on a statewide QA project is ongoing by the Bureau. It was noted that the BLS protocols are expected to be rolled out by August 1st statewide. The next PA Director Conference call is set for Wednesday, April the 3rd. And I'm going to ask Steve DeZura if he has any other comments about the conference call.
Seem to have covered it pretty well. I'd just like to add, effective today, Gene Taylor is now the, I think we're calling her Chief of the Education Unit. That was made official today. So she
Chief
takes
Taylor.
over for Andy.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. On March 13th, we received word of an AED used by SUNY Delhi. The patient was an 18-year-old male who unfortunately did not regain a pulse. On March 14th, Edmiston sent us a 5136 seeking our approval for an ePCR system update to NMSIS 3.4. And I would like to make this in the form of a motion that this regional council approves the Edmiston request for an update of their ePCR system to NMSIS 3.4.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All over the
Okay, who did that? Who was our second?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I just add to that? I did have a conversation with Peter Brody. If anyone in the room has or is on EMS charts and has not filled out a 5136 to convert to version 3.4, you need to do so. He asked that we get reminded to make sure that happens. The initial forms, whether or not you put version 2 and 3 on that form is not valid. It actually needs to be a new form. And I know that that's for EMS charts in particular. I don't know about the other software companies.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. We have a motion on the floor to approve this. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same. Any abstain? Motion carried.
On this afternoon, Schoharie County Office of Emergency Management advised us in writing, as per our requirements, that they have voted and selected new members for the Regional Council from Schoharie County as follows. Re-election of Ed Brandt, re-election of Dr. Luz, election of Benjamin Lauch as a full voting member, no longer an alternate, re-election of Ed Hillenbrand, and an alternate of Colleen Flynn. I'd like to make in the form of a motion that that this council approves these nominations and selects these people for the appointed positions.
Is there a second to that motion?
Any discussion?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Any abstentions? And motion is carried.
Okay. And that's my report, sir.
Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report. On March 18th, we received direct deposits for $32,660.09 and $5,569.75 respectively as payment in full for our vouchers that were submitted on March 1st. These were for the months of January and February in this quarter, as suggested by the Department of Health. We will be submitting for the month of March in this quarter at the appropriate time, at the end of March, right after the 31st. A printed report of the cash flow and balance sheet was distributed to all members. Mr. Pasquarelli, Mr. Jones, Mr. Chase, and Mr. Farquhar first received detailed cash flow, balance sheets, and register reports, plus copies of canceled checks, as per the review arrangements agreed on to meet audit standards. They reported.
Everything was found to be complete and accurate.
Okay. Motion to approve? Anyone?
I'll make a motion.
That was Joe?
And Tim seconded that one too.
Okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed the same?
I will abstain as a staff member. Okay.
Okay, committee reports, they're next.
Okay, we have nothing to report for the Regional Program Agency Committee. Since Beth has an excused absence today, I don't really have any report for the Training Committee unless Howard has some comment. Okay.
And there's no report for Policy Committee today either.
Okay. All right. We'll go to transportation.
Okay, transportation and standards.
I recall we have a committee by that name.
Yeah.
All right, on November 5th, we received a request for approval of a transfer of operating authority of the Masonville Fire Department Emergency Squad to Sydney EMS. This request is uncontested and approved by both parties and was accompanied by the usual fee. The application was sent in, there was a comment period, and the application had to be returned on a couple of occasions for completeness. It finally was resent and read by the gentleman in charge at the time on January the 12th. On February the 8th, we were advised that fitness and competency had been approved by the Department of Health in this matter. The application was considered complete. Dana Jonas from the Department of Health advised me yesterday by email that the application was ready for our action, and fitness and competency review was affirmative. So I would like then to make a motion, and after which, if I have a second, there will be a discussion period on this transfer of operating authority. I will make this the following motion. Resolved that the transfer of operating authority of the Masonville Fire District Ambulance to Emergency Squad Number 1 of the Sydney Fire Department of the Village of Sydney Incorporated, doing business as Sydney EMS, is approved. So a yes vote will be approval, signify approval of this motion. A no vote will signify no approval, and an abstention vote is possible as well. If we have a second, we can then call for a discussion period.
Is there a second to the motion?
Efren?
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Period of discussion will follow.
I have been asked by, if I may start off the period of discussion, I've been asked by Beth McGowan in her absence, or excused absence today, to read the following comment from CMT with regard to this transfer of authority. Cooperstown Medical, and I quote, Cooperstown Medical Transport Incorporated, represented by Margaret McGowan, Mark Zeke, and Elizabeth McGowan, opposed the transfer of operating certificate of the Masonville Fire Department as transfer of an ambulance operating certificate not authorized by public health law. Section 3010-2 of the public health law specifically sets out the circumstances that allow transfer of operating authority. To wit, no ambulance service certificate shall be transferable unless regional counsel and the department reviews and approves the transfer as follows. Any change in the individual who is the sole proprietor of an ambulance service shall only be approved upon a determination that the proposed new owner is competent and fit to operate the service. Any change in a partnership which is the owner of an ambulance service shall be approved based upon a determination that the new partner or partners are competent and fit to operate the service. The remaining partners shall not be subject to a character and fitness review. any transfer, assignment, or other disposition of 10% or more of the stock or voting rights thereunder of a corporation which is the owner of ambulance service, or any transfer, assignment, or other disposition of the stock or voting rights thereunder of such a corporation, which results in the ownership or control of 10% or more of the stock or voting rights thereunder by any person, shall be approved based upon a determination that the new stockholder or stockholder proposing to obtain 10% or more of the stock or voting rights thereunder of such corporation is competent and fit to operate the service. The remaining stockholders shall not be subject to a character and fitness review. This is commonly known as the business world stock sale. Masonville Fire Department has no stock. This is all part of this comment that I'm reading. Any transfer of all or substantially all of the assets of a corporation which owns or operates a certified ambulance service shall be approved based on a determination that the individual, partnership, or corporation proposing to obtain all or substantially all of the assets of the corporation is competent and fit to operate the service. Margaret McGowan's comment, commonly known in the business world as an asset sale. Masonville is not attempting to transfer all or substantially all of the assets, which would include all fire apparatus and equipment. Any transfer effected in the absence of the review and approval required by this section shall be null and void, and the certification of such ambulance service shall be subject to revocation or suspension. Margaret's comments, any transfers approved by the department outside of the parameters of this section of law are presumably null and void. The law clearly states the types of ambulance operating certificates that are transferable. On the Department of Health website, the ambulance certificate in Masonville is listed as Masonville Fire District. Fire district certificates are not included in any of the categories listed above. The first line of this section is clear that the regional council and the department can review and approve the transfer only under the parameters set out in subsections A through D of subsection 2, which have already been read. I close quotes on the comments from Cooperstown Medical Transport. And I have now a comment from Daniel Clayton, Operations Department, Operations Unit Manager for the EMS Bureau of the Department of Health. This reads as follows. Thank you for notifying the department of the written objection submitted by Cooperstown Medical Transport relating to the transfer of authority application from Masonville Fire District to Emergency Squad Number 1 of the Sydney Fire Department of the Village of Sydney. The Bureau has discussed the matter with our department's Division of Legal Affairs and determined that there is nothing prohibiting the transfer of the authority and certificate known to us at this juncture. And this is signed by Daniel J. Clayton, Operations and Emergency Preparedness Unit Manager, New York State Department of Health, Bureau of EMS and Trauma Systems. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Anyone? All right. Are we ready for a roll call vote?
Once again, yes, we're ready for the roll call vote. I will repeat the resolution. The resolution is resolved that the transfer of operating authority of the Masonville Fire District Ambulance to Emergency Squad Number 1 of the Sydney Fire Department of the Village of Sydney Incorporated, doing business as Sydney EMS, is approved. Once again, a yes vote is approval, a no vote is not, signifying no approval, and abstention is permitted. I start with, by county. Alphabetically, Delaware County, Mr. Cazzola.
Yes.
Brian Hale.
Yes.
Patrice Delameter.
Yes.
Margaret Wilson.
Abstain.
Margaret Wilson abstains. Mr. Simmons does not have a vote because we have a full complement of voting members from Delaware County today. Fulton County, Margaret Houghton is absent. Country Suite.
Yes.
John Farquhar.
Yes.
Michael Tracy.
Yes.
Mark Souza.
Yes.
Hamilton County, Joyce Belidi is absent. Philip Belidi votes yes. Kenneth Kirk.
Yes.
Avis Warner.
Yes.
Gary Wiggs.
Yes.
Montgomery County, Thomas Pasquarelli.
Yes.
Michael Swartz.
Yes.
Patricia Sanders is absent. Anthony Gresta.
Yes.
Otsego County, Sidney Chase.
Yes.
Elizabeth McGowan is absent. Dr. Markowitz.
Medical Director, both agencies, I abstain.
Dr. Markowitz abstains. Timothy Foster.
Yes.
Richard Kirschman is absent. Schoharie County, Ed Brandt.
Yes.
Edward Hillenbrand.
Yes.
Dr. Luz.
Yes.
Benjamin Lodge.
Yes.
Mr. Zeke is absent. Mr. Jones, advisory member. Dr. Markowitz. Already voted. Already voted. Okay. Okay, the results of the vote. In favor of the resolution 20, no votes opposed to the resolution, and 2 abstentions. The resolution is therefore adopted. Bear with me one moment. Now, proceeding to another issue before the Transportation and Standards Committee, originally before them and now before the entire membership. Previously advised all the members that the council had received a request from Mr. Clayton at the Department of Health and also from Mr. Santa Maria, Director of the Fulton County Emergency Management Office, this was on February 20th, requesting that a clarification of territory process be initiated concerning the operating territory of the Johnstown Area Volunteer Ambulance Corps, otherwise known as JVAC. There was considerable discussion at the time, and we received on February 26th a document from Mr. Farquhar excerpted from the territories section of the Fulton County Mutual Aid Plan concerning territories that JVAC themselves had noted for themselves in 2006. Since then, we've received documentation from the Department of Health. March the 2nd, as a matter of fact, we received documentation from Mr. Clayton, the Department of Health. All of this documentation was forwarded to all council members for their review. Based on these documents, all of whom had been approved some years ago by JVAC management itself at the time, and also based on comments received from a number of council members, it is felt that a clarifying descriptor of JVAC's primary operating territory can be drawn. Bear with me one moment while I bring out the appropriate folder. Therefore, I should like to make a resolution which, pending a second, will be open for discussion as follows. Resolved that the primary operating territory of the Johnstown Area Volunteer Ambulance Corps, JVAC, shall be described as follows. And I quote, all of the city of Johnstown and north on State Highway 38 to Harrison Street, south on Harrison Street to State Highway 29, both sides of highway, excluding the annexed parcels of the city of Gloversville. State Highway 29 easterly to the intersection of County Highway 106, both sides of the road, including both sides of Schoolhouse Road, Shebacker Road, and Circle Drive, excluding the industrial park, which is annexed to the city of Gloversville. Second Dagger Road southerly from County Highway 106, both sides of the road, to the Montgomery County line. Westerly on County line from Sacandaga Road to Town of Ephrata, Town of Johnstown line. North on Town of Ephrata, Johnstown line to Old State Road. West on the Old State Road to the intersection of State Highway 2910. Northerly on State Highway 10 to intersection of State Highway 10A, including Smith and Youngs Road. Southerly on State Highway 10A to Town of Johnstown line. Easterly on Town of Johnstown line to North Bush Road. South on North Bush Road, including both sides of road to intersection of County Highway 131 and North Bush Road. easterly on West Fulton Street Extension to County Highway 122, both sides of road. Southerly on County Highway 122 to City of Johnstown line, both sides of road. This descriptor is copied word for word from the material noted in the territory section of the Fulton County Mutual Aid Plan, which was approved by JVAC themselves, their management at the time, in 2006. And it is borne out as accurate as a descriptor based on maps submitted by JVAC to the Department of Health at various times since 2006, but not including this past year when they did not submit a map for recertification, for agency recertification purposes. That is the motion that I'm proposing, and I would await a second on that.
Pat seconds it.
Okay.
You've heard the motion made and seconded and read. Is there further discussion or comments at this point in time?
Is that considered a municipal or legal boundary or anything like that that we all had to comply with the last time?
I'm sorry, I don't quite.
Would that be considered, like, when the rest of us had to redo our COMs, we had to list them by some type of
Oh, this would be considered.
municipal
Yes.
boundary? Is there a municipal boundary on those roads?
Yes,
Or-
they will be considered municipal boundaries, and I would ask
That's what I'm
Steve
asking.
DeZiera to comment if he has any comments.
So it would be preferred that it was a geopolitical,
Yeah, that's what I
you
thought.
know, boundary, but in the absence of being able to correctly describe the territory using those boundaries, this would be an appropriate description, road by road.
So,
We also did the same thing, and we had to clarify the last TOA for MOVAC as well. We could not use whole towns, so we did break it down by road in that as well.
I recall that,
yeah,
yes.
didn't that cause a lot of problems too, though? Didn't they then appeal it and then that sat in appeal forever?
They didn't appeal it.
Oh, I thought they did, and
They-
it sat in
No,
appeal forever.
They
No,
said they
it's-
were going to because they realized that they left 5 miles of road out, but
Yeah.
that
That never
also
went.
went to Dan Clayton, and at that point, the time had expired, and the only way that they could go forward was to do a true expansion.
Okay. Your second.
I guess so. I would think that you could come up with a, instead of like halfway down this road to the intersection, that we could use GPS points, or the state has a defined address point database that, we could mark these points on
Absent
and
that,
make boundaries up.
I think this is pretty accurate. Once again, I would have to mention that this is, this particular wording was approved by JVAC management at the time.
So one of the things, I guess I'm confused on in this is that in the recertification packets, you have to clearly outline the territory in which you serve, which is generally what is printed on the operating certificate, I would think.
Right.
I know at least when I do mine, that's what I put, everything that's on the operating certificate. In the recertification paperwork that JVAC has submitted to the state year after year, it does not match the operating certificate at all. It is laid out exactly like this resolution reads in their recertification packet. So again, I'm curious, and I don't know if I'll ever get the answer, on how the actual process did not somehow have a red flag at the DOH level. If they're submitting for a territory that is currently not listed on their operating certificate.
The operating certificate that they received every year is exactly what, doesn't discuss that. It discusses town, the city of Johnstown and immediate surrounding area. That is what is on their operating certificate, not that. So